sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are. Welcome. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Appreciate you guys being on. It is Tuesday. We are closing in on the end of September. This is Andrew David. This is Blake Newbar's partner program, the High Performance Calls Live. Appreciate you guys being here. If you're watching recordings, then like, subscribe, all that to the channel. What I wanted to talk about today. So last week we had Kevin Thompson on talking about $1 million relationships. I had some time over the weekend to spend with some individuals that are kind of mentors and friends of mine. We did a challenge, and the challenge was to reach out to 10 people and show genuine appreciation. Some of them you may be friends with, some of them you may not be. Some of them may just be people on social media. I know some of you have completed that. Some of you may not have. Some of you may have done it in a way that can help propel you forward in life and in business. And some of us probably went out and reached out to people that we almost feel obliged to offer our feelings of gratitude towards, because we've been friends with or been in a relationship for a real long time. And yet it's come to the point in our life where maybe that friendship isn't the best thing for us. We've talked about the power of relationships and what that does. We've talked about what happens and how important your circle is and that network and how much it influences you and the way that you think. And I was doing some studying and looking at relationships. So studies have shown that starting around the age of 25, we begin to lower or make smaller our circle of friends, right? Right around the age of 25 is when that starts to happen. Some of you guys passed that, checkpoint a couple months ago, past that 25. And so now you're going, well, so when I say things like, hey, you've got to be careful with your friends and you've got to edit who is in that circle and you have to look at who you're loyal to. Some of you guys are looking and saying, well, I don't have that many friends to begin with. There's just not that many people there. What do I do? What do I do in that scenario? How do I cut out family members? How do I cut out, the kids that are saying this or the mom or dad that's saying this or my loved one and this, the best friend that I've had for this many years. Friendship is an interesting thing, and our feelings towards friendships are interesting. Is anybody in like their, let's say later years, I'm not going to ask for an exact age, that has a friend that they've had since high school or college? A few of you do. If you look at the pathway that you're on, in not just with business, but especially all of you that are here consistently. You're here consistently because you are actively trying to work on yourself. Okay. What I want you to do is think about those friends, how many of them are supportive in that pathway of learning and growth that allow you to become a different person, versus what happens a lot of times is they remember who you've been for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And so when you're with them, you slide into and assume that role. And maybe in college, maybe in your 30s, you were the jokester. You were the funny person, always making a joke about everything. Always had some smart comment. And that's not you anymore. You've grown up a little bit. I don't know if I'm ever going to hit that point, but let's say you've grown up a little bit. But then when you're with those friends, you almost feel obliged to make some of those comments. Or you were always the big sister through the relationship. And so when you're in that scenario, you feel again like you've got to continue and guide, even though they're already in their 50s or 60s or whatever. And they're still coming to you for that advice in that sisterly role. Or flip side, they were the ones that always helped you because you were the one that was always having drama or messing up or whatever. And now you're in this position where you're finally taking control of your life. And yet when you are talking to them, they assume the role of big sister, big brother, uncle, and they're trying to give you advice, and you're looking and you're going, really, if I think about it, I don't necessarily want their advice on where to go in life, because where they are isn't where I want to be. Friendships are an interesting thing, and relationships are interesting. And we had Blake talks about networking and relationships, and I talked about it, and Kevin Thompson was on here talking about it. And we're looking at all of these different things, and you kind of say, well, there's the friendships, there's the business relationships. However you want to cut it, guys, there are people that spend time in your circle of influence. What is it and how is it that they are influencing you really becomes the biggest question. Okay. Are they pushing you forward? Are they allowing you to grow? Are they helping you advance? Are they there to lift you up? Or Melinda's saying that she had a friend that encouraged her with this. And hopefully they're there to continue to encourage as you go forward through the ups and downs. Guys, you've got to think about that. Who is in your circle right now that's influencing you? Now, if you've made already some of the tough decisions, or just over the last few years, you've had a handful of these friends that you've had for a long time that have kind of just worked themselves out of your life. Because all of us have that. It's real easy to see that. All you need to do is, if we were to do a study, if you were to pull up your text messages, your emails, your phone calls, however you communicate more. If you were to pull up your communication from a year ago, 2 years ago, and look at it compared to now, there's a very good chance that some of the individuals that are currently active in your life weren't active a year or two ago, right? Or those that were there aren't nearly as active as they were. Michael moving 1,000 miles away, yeah, that would definitely change the dynamics for sure. I moved 2.5, 3,000 miles away. All my family, most of my friends, I grew up in Arizona. I'm sitting in Orlando. And then you go through life experiences, like a divorce, going on about 8 years ago. And those friendships that you had during the marriage, all of a sudden they decide which side of the aisle they want to be on now. And you go, what happened to all of these people that I hung out with, to everyone that was there? And now there's nobody or very few, right? And the ones that, especially when you're in a relationship like that, because most of your friends end up being, the husbands of the wives that are friends. And then the husbands feel bad about hanging out with you because, well, then their wife gets upset, and, are you on his side, her side, this, that, and the other. So then you're left going, what am I going to do now? And you've got to create new friendships. And so some of you guys are in that spot, and, I've had to deal with that. There's the friendships and there's the business relationships, and some of those business relationships have turned into friendships and vice versa. So what do you do? How do you build up some quality relationships? Now, I've talked about this before, but one of the key elements for me is creating a list of qualities, characteristics, activities, etc., that you partake in, that you want to partake in, and that you want others that you associate with to be a part of. So if I'm trying to stay away from nonsense and drama, then I'm going to not spend as much time, or I'm not going to even give an opportunity for people that live their life like that. On the other hand, now in this social world, how do we do this with COVID, with restrictions? You're not going out to, the Lions Club or the Chamber of Commerce or these other things. So what do we do to build up these relationships? Well, start online, guys. Start with, the Skype group, for example, that we have here with the high performance calls. There's a handful of people. Everybody's in there. Some people are more active than others. There's a good chance that you guys have seen enough interaction to see a handful of people that you go, you know what? I wouldn't mind a conversation with them once in a while. And yeah, you can call and you can talk and you can see what's going on with what they're doing with the program. But you could just say, hey, I've loved what you've posted time and time again. Here's what I'm doing. How would you be cool just talking once in a while? Just reach out, allow something to nurture, allow a friendship to begin that way. It starts with a seed, ultimately. It starts with an element of curiosity in your own life. And for some of us that are natural introverts, that opportunity isn't always the easiest thing to take advantage of, right? So, okay, yeah, Yvonne, hopefully the audio is better when you come back. What challenges, let me ask you guys, when we're looking at relationships, what challenges have you guys faced when trying to build relationships in the last 18 months, or, eliminating bad ones, or you've tried, but you can't quite push away, or you've got someone in your life that you can't really eliminate the relationship because they're there and they're going to be there. And so how do you deal with it? Has anybody had anything there? Have any questions about what to do in those scenarios?
Andrew, it's Rick here. One of the things I've had challenges with, of course, and I think we all have too, and I'm sure, and that is because of all the lockdowns. You can't do as many live networking events, or as you meet people and create friendships or reconnect with old ones as easily. You can do a lot of it online and you make phone calls, things like that. But live events have definitely had a restricting effect, I think, to some extent.
Yeah, part of it's accepting that that's part of the way we're just interacting now, right? So much of it's virtual, and it's easier for me to say that because I've been doing virtual meetings now for a number of years, right? Like, you guys are streaming into my house just about every day, week after week, and so it becomes a little bit different. What I try and do is kind of like what Kevin talked about, what I've talked about. You just got to reach out, try and get someone on the phone. It's different than being able to sit down at a meal, right? Share a lunch and just talk over lunch. But you've got, so like my fiance's got some friends one of her friends is in med school down in St. Martin right now. So they do a virtual happy hour. Right? How many of you guys had one of those with work, where they tried to set up virtual happy hours? Just do them with friends. Say, look, we can't do that. We can't, we don't need to get plastered, but we can sit and talk. I've done virtual happy hours that are non-alcoholic. Just sit and chat. Book a time. Say, I realize it's a little more formal than we'd like to, but man, I'd like to see your face actually. Let's have a conversation. Yeah, Curtis, I mean, how many of us have had to do it with family over the last year because of lockdowns? You just got to be willing to do it, and you got to force the issue. You have to push it. People, I don't know, and I don't want to be on couch. You say, look, you don't have to put on makeup. I'm not worried about any of that. Just do it. Just something. Sue?
Yeah, I just want to say, Saturday, one of my sisters came to town, to Arizona, just passing through from New Jersey, and I got a chance to see her, and I was so excited. I just couldn't stop hugging her, and when we were at dinner, we couldn't stop talking. But there was that point. They have different political views, and I didn't cross the line. I just talked about vaccines. And that was the end of the conversation, and we were good. Right. But, in these days, you have to tiptoe about people's political views. So I just steer clear of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's an easy way to, like, if you're just craving attention, then yeah, you need to stay away from certain topics. Always, no matter what, because that's the great thing about this group. We've got people with different political views. I know we do. You have people that feel differently about all sorts of different things, because we got people from all over the world, all walks of life, every type of, occupation and everything else. So I know we have different political views, and yet we've all been able to hopefully just talk, and, hopefully people haven't left upset. But if you're craving human attention, then yes, you stay away from polarizing views, which is a little bit different than as you build your audience, right? We've talked about that with social media. But you can be polarizing without, upsetting people as well. But just guys, do what you can to build relationships. I mean, it's such a simple thing to say, but the power of what happens there, and if you push and you push and you push, and when live events are possible, right? And they are now all around the country, find ways to do something. Right? Find the right one and get out, do something if you can. Michael, did you have something?
Oh, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I just wanted to add what you were just talking about. And I'm happy that this topic of politics never comes up in our group, because it isn't relevant to what we're doing.
Exactly.
And if you have two people that think exactly alike, at least one of them is not thinking. And we all have different ways of looking at things. That's what makes us who we are. That's what makes us individuals. But for some reason, the social media has made it offensive not to agree, in lockstep with someone else.
Yeah.
And that's so against what it is we should be doing with our lives.
Yeah, just the opportunity to talk. And thankfully, we all have grown-ass adults on here, so we can talk about things without everybody getting their feelings bent out of shape, which is great, because sometimes I had someone recently tell me that I've been bringing the hammer down more than I was in older calls, that I was happier before. And I don't want to say that I'm not happy at all. Like I am. Life is good. Opportunities are there. Things are moving in so many great and awesome ways. At the same time, there's moments where it's just, you've got to recognize what you guys are capable of. And man, there's just so much there if you push. And some of it is who you spend your time around. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And it's hard right now. Let me just get this one thought, Rick, because I will forget it otherwise.
Sure.
With social media, with what happens, we are forced into a bubble. And I've talked about this before because of the algorithm. The way Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everything works. The more you like certain things, the more that's what you're shown, right? Whether they edit one side or the other doesn't matter. The more you like certain things, the more you get exposed to that, right? We've talked about this before, right? There's different effects that go on psychologically when that's what you're looking at. So then that's what you believe. So now, as we're trying to build a relationship outside of this social media bubble, right? And it can be positive. I follow, these entrepreneurs and these channels that talk about, mindset and positivity and spirituality and affirmations and everything else. So I get inundated with that type of topic. I love that. But sometimes you got to be able to lift your head up and look around and see that there's a world outside of that. Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's actually a video, I can't find it right now, but there's a video on YouTube where Rowan Atkinson talks about, he says, feel free to insult me. Because you have to keep the dialogue. We can't be so afraid to talk to each other or afraid to insult each other. Because if you're afraid to say anything, you're basically have closed dialogue.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, tell me whatever you want. If I say something where you've got a different opinion, by all means, right? This isn't a dictatorship. I mean, I come up with the topics, I talk about them, but occasionally people give me ideas. But if you don't agree with something, I'm cool with it. Just, be okay with, I'm okay with you saying, hey, I don't agree with this. This is what I think. And I'll say, that's great. Here's my opinion. And we go, great. Your opinion, my opinion. Here you go, guys. And, when personal development is just that. It's personal. So when I talk about these different things, it's why I talk so much about self-awareness. You've got to know you. They've got one of the things that we talked about over this weekend. There's a new self-evaluation personality test that you can take called Enneagram, something like that. Has anybody heard of it? Okay. So there's a handful of different ones. There's a lot of them. I've talked about the Colby exam. You've got the StrengthsFinder 2.0. You've got free ones that you can take. This Enneagram, I guess there's free ones. There's one I took that was like $12. It's like 150 questions that you answer. And then it says you're a number 1 or a number 3 or a number 7, and then here's the definition of that. And here's how you blah, 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 all of these different things. I love those because it kind of helps. I'm at the point where I don't feel like it tells me this is who I am as a core person. It's kind of, this is who I am right now. And this is what's going on right now. And you got to be willing to do that and have someone say, hey, this is kind of how you're being perceived, because how you're being perceived is how you're being perceived. And if I'm coming off like a dick half the time on these calls, then I want to know, because then I can modify things if there's a reason that some people are saying that. On the other hand, if it's just one person and you have all these other voices, it's the same reason with your friends and your family members and the people that are in your circle. If you got one person that's saying, hey, hold on, that's not you, that's not us, this isn't, you've never been like that before. Well, good, because damn it, I'm not trying to be who I was before. I'm trying to be someone different. I'm not that person that I was 8 years ago during that divorce, or 20 years ago when I was a kid. This is who I'm trying to be. This is who I'm working on. So, hey, you can tell me that all you want. And if they say something like that to me, hey, this isn't who you are, that's not how you've been. Thank you. Good. Then I'm doing something right, because I'm trying to change. And if they're in the position, Nancy, what you wrote in here is exactly what I was talking about. You've got his group from junior high. Okay. That's a couple of years ago. I am not the same person I was in junior high. By the end of high school, I wasn't the same person I was in junior high, right? I can remember a handful of the names of those people simply because we stayed friends, some of them through high school. But for crying out loud, unless, especially if you're at the point where you can say right now, look, they're not bringing anything to the table. Hey, guys, love you. But you know what? It's not going to be hard to transition out of that relationship. If you're just talking once in a while and they're not bringing anything to the table, I'm sorry. I don't have time for that. I just don't. That doesn't mean once in a while you can't say, hey, how are you? Thinking about you. Hope you're doing well. Happy birthday on Facebook. Happy anniversary on Facebook. Here's a Christmas card. That's fine. Right? Absolutely. Be that person. That's cool. You can still rise up and be more without, having to hold on to that. Let's see. George saying some awesome ways our families become closer because of these weekly Zoom meetings as opposed to meeting once in person Thanksgiving every year. That's fantastic. If you got family that you can do that with. Let's see. Everybody's finding Rowan Atkinson. That's great. FORM is an acronym: Family, Occupation, Recreation, Motivation. FOR Talk helps build rapport before you delve into the motivation, what motivates a person. So all sorts of different things there. Let's see. Free and open debate without being belittled for one's views. What a novel idea. Anyway, guys, my point of all of this is simply because you've been friends with someone for a long time, and part of this, I think, stems from this idea of what loyalty is. Oh, I'm a loyal friend. I've been friends with this person forever. Okay. Are they going to get you where you want to be? Not just professionally, guys. Spiritually, are they going to help you become better? Right? And mentally, are they helping develop your character, or are they holding you back? Are you holding on to that friendship? Are they an anchor or are they a propeller? That's what you need to look at. In this sea of life, you're going to have people in your life that are the sails. They're the wind behind the sails. They're the propellers. They're the fuel that guides that engine, or they're the anchors and other things that are in your way, keeping you back. Decide who they are. Decide what it is you need more of, and then be curious enough to go out and find it. Do that work, and you can always find ways to rise up from the ashes, fly like the phoenixes that you are. Love you guys much. I will be back tomorrow. Plan on tomorrow. Remember, Thursday, I will be on a plane heading towards Colorado. Friday, we will be back on same time as always. Appreciate you guys.
Sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet.
Just go forward.
So what do you need to do? How do you stand out?
So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are.